Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are digging into a really big idea, one that's totally reshaping our schools: inclusive education. And look, it's so much more than just a buzzword. It's a completely different way of thinking about what learning is and who it's for.
So let me ask you this. Have you ever felt like school was kind of designed as a one-size-fits-all deal? Where everyone's supposed to learn the exact same thing at the exact same speed? Well, that traditional model, the one that basically asks students to cram themselves into a pre-made box, that's precisely what inclusive education is here to blow up.
Okay, so this all starts with a huge shift in our thinking, removing away from a fixed, rigid system and toward one that's designed from the ground up to be flexible.
And this slide just lays it out so clearly. You see, the old way put all the pressure, all the burden on the student to adapt to whatever system was in place. If you didn't quite fit, well, that was considered your problem to solve. Inclusive education completely flips that script. It says, nope, the responsibility is on the system. The system has to be the one that adapts and becomes flexible enough for every single learner. And that, right there, is a massive, fundamental change in mindset.
So, that's the big picture shift. But let's get a little more specific. What does inclusive really mean here? Let's break down the core idea.
Okay, so the official definition we're working with is this. It's about creating systems where all students, and we mean all students, no matter their background or ability, have equal access to learning and can fully participate in mainstream schools. And those two words, fully participate, are so important. This isn't just about, letting everyone through the door. It's about completely redesigning the experience so that every single student can be an active, meaningful part of the classroom.
And that really gets to the human side of all this. It goes way beyond just the logistics or the teaching methods. The real goal here is to foster a true sense of belonging, a feeling that you're part of a shared learning experience. Because at the end of the day, learning is social, right? It's when students feel seen, when they feel respected, and like they're a real part of the community, that's when the magic happens. That's when real learning can start, for everyone.
All right, a powerful philosophy is great, but how do you actually do it? How do you make it real? Well, let's look at the blueprint for inclusion, the key principles and the actual practices that bring this whole idea to life.
So the whole thing rests on a few key pillars. First, this simple but kind of radical idea. All students learn together. Period. From there, it's about actively getting rid of barriers to learning. And those barriers can be anything, right? They can be obvious, like a flight of stairs, or they can be less obvious, like a textbook that's written in a way only one kind of learner can really get. And to make it all work, it can't just be one teacher's job. It has to be a whole school approach, one that's all about equity and fairness.
So what does this actually look like in a school? Well, for starters, teachers adapt how they teach to fit all the different ways kids learn. They tweak the curriculum so it's not just accessible but actually relevant to everyone in the room. Then you've got individualized support. Maybe that's extra tutoring or some cool assistive tech. But it's so much bigger than just the classroom. It's about creating a genuinely welcoming culture of respect. And it even comes down to the physical building itself, making sure it's accessible for every single body. It's about making sure that feeling of belonging is everywhere.
Okay, now there's a really common misconception here that we need to tackle. A lot of people think this is something that's just for a small group of students. But the research, it tells a completely different story. So let's talk about the payoff and why inclusion actually benefits all students.
So you might assume that inclusive practices are aimed squarely at specific groups, like students with disabilities, or maybe those who are learning a new language. And of course, they absolutely benefit, but look at this. The single biggest slice of this pie, the largest group that benefits, is everyone else. It turns out that when you design a classroom to be more flexible, more supportive, and more thoughtful for some, you accidentally, or not so accidentally, create a better learning environment for every single person in the room.
And the benefits are huge. We're talking improved academic results for all. We're talking about students developing these crucial social and emotional skills, things like empathy and teamwork. At the same time, you see stigma and discrimination start to fade away, which helps create a genuinely more accepting community. And what's the bottom line? It prepares all students for the diverse, complex world they're actually going to live and work in. It helps them become not just better students, but better people.
So, as we bring this all together, let's just zoom out for a second. Because what we're really talking about here isn't just another educational strategy. It's a vision for building education for a better world.
Really, when you strip everything else away, it all boils down to this one simple, powerful goal: to create a more just and a more equitable educational system. A system where every single student has the chance to reach their full potential. Not in spite of what makes them different, but because of it.
And that leaves us with one last question to think about. If this is the future, a more empathetic, a more effective, a more equitable way to do education, then what can we all do to help build it? What's our role to play, whether we're parents or teachers or just members of the community? Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.